Hey guys, it's Miral, and I am so excited to be diving into a super important part of American history with you today, the Civil War. Get ready to learn, because we're about to uncover all the juicy details about this epic showdown. We're talking battles, big changes, and some really brave people.
Picture this. It's America in the 1800s, and there's this huge disagreement going on. The country was growing, expanding westward, and with that expansion came many new territories and states. But with new states came the big question. Should these new states allow slavery or not? It was all about slavery, which is when people own other people. Slavery was a brutal system where enslaved people were forced to work without pay, often under terrible conditions. It was a moral and human rights issue that divided the nation.
The North was like, no way, slavery is so not fetch, and they wanted to end it. Many people in the North were abolitionists who believed that slavery was morally wrong and fought hard to end it. They held rallies, wrote books, and even helped enslaved people escape through the Underground Railroad.
But the South was all about, hold on, we kind of rely on slavery for our farms and stuff. The Southern economy was heavily dependent on agriculture, especially cotton, which was labor-intensive and relied on enslaved labor. They felt that their way of life and economic survival were at stake.
So they tried to make some deals, like the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850, but those were about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. These compromises were temporary solutions that tried to balance the interests of both sides, but ultimately failed to address the root of the problem. Then came along this guy named Abraham Lincoln. He was a lawyer from Illinois who had strong views against the expansion of slavery. He believed that the country could not endure permanently half slave and half free. He was totally against slavery, and when he became president in 1860, the South was like, nope, we're out of here. Lincoln's election was the final straw for many Southern states, who felt that their voices were no longer being heard in the federal government. They decided to peace out and form their own country, the Confederate States of America. This secession led to the outbreak of the Civil War, a conflict that would last 4 years and become one of the most defining moments in American history.
All right, history buffs, get your timelines ready.
The Civil War officially started in 1861 and lasted until 1865. That's 4 years of intense battles and major historical turning points. It all kicked off at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Imagine a bunch of soldiers hanging out at this fort when suddenly, bam, the Confederates were like, this fort is ours now, and started firing cannons. Talk about an explosive way to start a war.
Okay, so on one side we had the Union, which was made up of the northern states. They were all about sticking together as one country and getting rid of slavery. Leading the charge was President Abraham Lincoln. On the other side were the Confederate States of America, those southern states that decided to go their own way. They had their own president, Jefferson Davis, and they were determined to keep slavery alive.
Okay, so the Civil War had a ton of battles, but some were so epic. These battles weren't just skirmishes. They were massive, intense, and had a huge impact on the course of the war.
First up, the Battle of Gettysburg. This wasn't just any battle, it was a 3-day clash that would go down in history as one of the most significant engagements of the Civil War. It was like the Super Bowl of Civil War battles, with thousands of soldiers clashing in Pennsylvania. The stakes were incredibly high, and the outcome would shape the future of the nation. It was a major turning point for the Union, and it was definitely not for the faint of heart. The Union's victory here gave them a much-needed boost in morale and marked a significant shift in the war's momentum.
Then there was Antietam, the bloodiest single-day battle in American history. Imagine a day so brutal that it left over 22,000 soldiers dead, wounded, or missing. It was a brutal reminder of the war's devastating cost. The sheer scale of the casualties shocked the nation and underscored the horrific reality of the conflict.
And who could forget the first Battle of Bull Run? This was the first major battle of the war, and it shattered any illusions that the conflict would be short or easy. It was the first major battle of the war, and it was a real wake-up call for both sides, showing just how serious this whole thing was about to get. The battle made it clear that the war would be long, grueling, and costly for everyone involved.
Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln, the man who led the Union through its darkest hours.
He was like the superhero of the Civil War, fighting for what he believed in with all his might. Lincoln was totally against slavery, and he made it his mission to end it once and for all. He even issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which basically said, slavery is so over. It was a huge moment in American history and a major step towards freedom for all.
Hold on to your hats, because the Civil War was a time of major technological advancements.
We're talking game-changing weapons and super-fast communication. These advancements not only altered military strategies, but also had a lasting impact on future conflicts. Rifles were getting more accurate, which meant soldiers could hit their targets from farther away. The introduction of rifled barrels and the mini ball made these weapons deadly accurate. And then there were the ironclad ships, which were basically like giant metal turtles with cannons. These ironclads were nearly impervious to traditional wooden ship artillery.
They revolutionized naval warfare, making wooden ships about as useful as a chocolate teapot in a heat wave. The famous battle between the Monitor and the Merrimack showcased the might of these ironclads. But the real MVP of Civil War technology was the telegraph. This invention allowed for real-time communication across vast distances, something previously unimaginable. It was like the first text messaging system, allowing people to send messages across long distances in a flash. Commanders could coordinate troop movements and strategies with unprecedented speed. It was a game changer for communication and helped spread news of the war faster than ever before. The telegraph network became the backbone of military communication, ensuring that information flowed quickly and efficiently.
Let's not forget the medical advancements during the Civil War. Field hospitals and new surgical techniques saved countless lives and laid the groundwork for modern medical practices. Railroads also played a crucial role, transporting troops and supplies quickly across the country. This logistical advantage was vital for both the Union and the Confederacy.
And finally, photography brought the realities of war to the public like never before. Images captured by photographers gave people a stark look at the battlefield, influencing public opinion and historical records. The technological advancements of the Civil War set the stage for future innovations and forever changed the landscape of warfare and communication. These developments were not just pivotal for the war, but also for the future of technology.
Okay, so after 4 long years of fighting, the Union finally triumphed in 1865. And guess what? Slavery was officially abolished.
The 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed, which basically said slavery is so not cool, and it's never coming back. This was a monumental victory for freedom and justice, and it marked a new chapter in American history. Finally, people who had been enslaved were free to live their lives on their own terms. It was a time of great joy and celebration, but also a time to remember the sacrifices made to achieve this hard-won freedom.
The Civil War was a time of incredible bravery and sacrifice, but it also came at a heartbreaking cost.
Hundreds of thousands of soldiers from both sides lost their lives, leaving behind grieving families and a nation forever scarred by the horrors of war. It's important to remember that behind every statistic, every battle, and every victory, there were real people with hopes, dreams, and families who loved them.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. Thanks for joining me on this epic history adventure. Don't forget to subscribe for more awesome videos, and be sure to share this video with your friends.